seated. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I read somewhere in my study of liturgy during my formation years that if you have to explain the liturgy to someone, then you haven't conducted it properly. If you have to explain what's going on, then you haven't done it right. A good liturgy is self-confirming, self-revelatory. Well-done liturgy lifts people into an experience of the holy that is greater than oneself and changes and transforms. If you have to explain a joke, the joke is lost, right? Same thing for liturgy. This theory may also be true of other aspects of life. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. Well, yes, love is based on the evidence of exterior acts, right? Kindness, attentiveness, slack cutting, and the like. But the matrix of love is deeper within the human being. Can't be explained ultimately except by a sort of interior gut feeling that the mystery called love is active and is operating and is alive. So, what about the case of baptism this morning? Does baptism have to be explained and grasped with the mind in order for it to be effective in your life and mine? Well, let me try to answer that question. In our tradition, you were probably baptized as a child, and that's when your parents and godparents make pledges on your behalf. I'm going to raise this child to be a follower of Christ. They take you under their spiritual tutelage, if you will, until the time when you and I can make a conscious decision to be a follower of Christ on our own. Now, for some, this is age 13. How many were baptized at 13? Confirmed at 13, maybe? At 12? For some, it's 50. For some, it's 60. And I've met a 9-year-old who was laser beam focused on baptism, baptized her too. Sacraments, said an influential Anglican theologian in the 1700s named Richard Hooker. He said it's an outward sign of an invisible grace. It's an outward sign of something invisible, grace. That is, we make certain gestures, we say certain words, rehearse certain behaviors, all of which signify something eternal, divine, which we cannot see. And since we cannot see it, we cannot measure it. And if we cannot measure it, we cannot control it. And if we can't control it, we can't manufacture it. It is then by default in the realm of God, not of the mortal. As such then, baptism, like all the sacraments, is ultimately a mystery. That is, not something to be uncovered and understood, but to be lived to be understood. Anselm, the Archbishop of Canterbury, who died in 1109, said famously, "I believe in order that I may understand." I believe in order that I may understand. Our minds tell us that we can believe. We can trust. I will trust if I have enough information, right? If I understand the polysyllabic Latinate words of Christianity in the West. Incarnation, salvation, sanctification, crucifixion, resurrection. If I just get those words in my head, then I will trust. If I have enough knowledge, I will then trust. I will have faith. But the wisdom of the church, from the 12th century at least, has been that full understanding is only possible when we participate in this. We believe first, and then we understand. It's sort of counter to our educational process, I suppose, in this country and around the world. If I can just get it right, if I can just read the right book, if I can get the right phrase, if the guru will tell me just the right thing, then I can believe. Take the step, Ted, of belief, and then you will understand. So, I know you're sitting here this morning with all kinds of facts that you'd like to have in your mind so that you can believe. And I can believe. Well, we could look at a dictionary and find that the ancient adherents to the polytheistic religions of Greece and Rome practiced washing for the removal of dirt, literal and figurative. And then we could read that the ancient Jews practiced this ceremonial washing of new converts. And then we can read, in Jesus and John's time, you were inducted into the fellowship of whoever baptized you. Then we can read that the church took these washings and theologized them. And here's then where we are for about 2,000 years. First, this is the head thing. In baptism we die and are reborn with Christ. In baptism we die and are reborn with Christ. We've turned it into a little splash, but baptism really is an immersion, a drowning, if you will, a drowning to the old self and coming up to the new self. It's a ceremonial drowning to the old life and rising to the new. Said an ancient father of the church, at the very moment of baptism, you died and are reborn right then. Second thing, our new birth is an entrance into the kingdom, that is the realm of God, which is that state of grace in which the perfect will of God is done on earth as it is in heaven. That is, if we will let it happen, you and I become part of the solution rather than part of the problem. Third thing about baptism for our heads. This is perhaps the most out there thing, at least for me. Baptism establishes intimacy with God. Not knowledge of God, not friendship with God, not, hey God, how you doing? But intimacy with God, like very breath, very close, like an intimate human relationship. This is an intimacy, says the church, that cannot be broken, cannot be diminished, cannot be rejected. We can never reject this kind of intimacy. It's here. How I long for you as a mother longs for her children, says the prophet Hosea. When Israel was a child, I loved him out of Egypt. I called him to be my son. Well, enough already of the words. Sacraments can't be reduced to concepts that might be understood even by the most eloquent preacher. The sacraments are bigger, thank God, more transcendent, thank God, than our words can describe them. Our words, if you will, take us to the horizon of our minds. Thank God for literature. But we can, for being, where am I? Literature. Thank you. Our minds take us only to the horizon. And then after the horizon, to go farther, we have to let go of language, because it ain't there. We can't do it. Language always falls short. It's always penultimate. It's always next to ultimate. So shut your mouth, Ted, and let's experience baptism. So friends, in a few seconds, I'm going to go through this sanctuary throwing water on you guys. And let it be to you like the monsoon rains in the New Mexican desert. Let this water sink into you, seeping into your skin to banish illness, anxiety, fear, screw-uppedness, and anger. Know that your baptism takes you on a journey with God. And it's not a solo journey, but it's a journey done together. As a 5th century philosopher said, to see thee, God, is the end and the beginning. God, thou carriest us, and thou dost go before. God, thou art the journey and the journey's end.